Hi, Emmy. Welcome to the Sacred Remembering podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, Sarah. Thank you.
It's very much an honor to have you. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation. So, I will read your bio here and then we will drop into some organic weaving like women do. Emmy is an intuitive healer, energy medicine practitioner, and a shamanic womb priestess and teacher dedicated to the reawakening of ancient feminine wisdom. Yes. And creating a global movement of womb and heart centered New Earth leaders. Trained in various healing modalities, Emmy creates sacred, safe, and non judgmental spaces for deep transformation and facilitates the emergence of authentic connection, profound knowing, and inner power for women of all ages around the world, with the intention of raising the frequency of our planet and fostering deep healing one womb at a time. Emmy also hosts the Sacred Feminine Power podcast and the Return to the Mother World speaker series, and is a 3 times best-selling author. And I want to say your full name, Emmi Mutale, and if I've mispronounced that, please correct me. And um, she can be found at femininerevered.com. So I want to say that up front so everyone presences with who you are. And before we got started, I said to you, I feel like you're holding a big mission template. Like we can hear that even in the bio and with the Sacred Feminine Power podcast that you have. And I would just love to invite you to just speak openly and freely and tell us a little bit about how that mission came to awaken, your own sacred remembering journey and remembering the sacred feminine power. And I feel like I've just asked you 3 questions that could take an hour to answer. So wherever you want to go with that. But yeah, I'm really curious to hear a bit more about your own path of remembering. I think that's really empowering.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, let me start by saying that I lived for most of my life until my early 30s. I lived very much in the masculine energy of doing and pushing, always striving for greater responsibility, climbing the career ladder, taking on more and more tasks at work, loving what I was
Same.
doing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And just kind of didn't really even know what feminine energy meant or what it would have meant in my life or kind of how I could have really brought that up in my life. Was so much more familiar with that masculine energy.
Yeah.
And I continued to do that for many, many, many years. And in my early 30s, there was a point where I was working in a dream job with the UN. I loved working for the UN at the time, not anymore, but at the time I did, and had 2 tiny kids at home, both of them under the age of 2. And was working full time, still breastfeeding my daughter, so sleeping maybe 3 or 4 hours a night. And, once I got home from the office, tried to be the perfect mama to my kids. And,
Hmm.
slowly I started to become more and more tired. I was really ignoring my own needs all the time. I was putting aside the pain that was starting to come through my body as well. I was getting increasingly snappy and impatient with my husband, with my kids. And it culminated in me one morning just literally sitting in a heap on the bathroom floor. I had just yelled at my kiddos, cursed at my husband, and was literally looking for a permanent way out. And if we'd stopped sleeping pills, it could well be that I wouldn't be here anymore. But thank goodness we didn't. And after a little while, just kind of wallowing in that darkness that I was in at that moment, it felt like there was this little energy starting to stir up inside my chest. It felt like a little sprout was starting to open up. And although I had no idea at that point how I was going to get better, I knew that I would. And from that point on, slowly, 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 I started to then give myself more me time, give myself more time to rest, look after my body's needs and started to look for healers and alternative modalities that were available to me at the time. Also started to get back onto my spiritual path, which had been a huge part of my life from a time I was a teenager, maybe even younger than that, until I started to climb the career ladder. I'd already learned a few healing modalities by then, was meditating by the time I was 15 or 16, but had
Mm.
pushed all of that aside. So starting to come back onto that spiritual journey was a huge thing for me at that point. However, I still needed a few initiations into the world
Yeah.
of the sacred feminine. So that meant that
Mhm.
I still kept on pushing myself way too hard at work, had a couple of other periods in my life where I was incredibly tired, on the brink of burnout, and kept on prioritizing work over my own health and often over my kids as well. And at one point, I remember I had come home late from the office. I was so tired. I went straight into bed and I was lying there on my back. And it literally felt like my life force energy was being sucked out of me. It felt like there was
That,
nothing
yeah,
left
yeah.
anymore.
Mhm.
And at that point, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore. This is enough now. And by that time, I was already kind of juggling and balancing out my career in women's rights and child rights, as well as my healing work. Because once I had felt better, I had gotten better, I'd filled my own cup with the healing modalities that I'd learned a long time ago. I then started to work in the healing world as well and offer support to others. So I was balancing my career and the healing
Yeah.
work as well. And at that point, it was like, okay, this is enough. I am going to take a leap of faith and I am
Mm.
just going to go pretty much full time into my healing and transformation work. And that's when I
Mhm.
started to then more and more dedicate myself to the healing path and started to work with more and more people as well. And then slowly started to fade out from the other work that I was still doing. And yeah, that was really a huge turning point for me. And in terms of the sacred feminine, I
Mm.
remember I had joined a 13-month womb awakening shamanic apprenticeship run by Seren and Ezra Bertrand, and was really drawn to the shamanic world, was drawn to the world of womb awakening for many reasons. And during one of our very first practices, there was a meditation at the end of which we repeated these words: "Thank you, Great Mother, for my life. I have heard your call." And the first time I said those words out loud, I burst into tears. I had
Mhm. I feel it
full
right
body
now.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
powerful. And it was like in that moment, I realized, like, wow, there was
Mhm.
this joy over realizing that, wow, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is the path that I'm meant to be on. And at the same time, this really intense, deep grief that I had forgotten about this for
Mm.
so long, not just this lifetime, but over many, many lifetimes. And it was like this reclaiming of something ancient, something sacred that lives inside all of us, especially as women, also men, but especially as women, because it is about that knowing of the Great Mother, our connection to the Mother,
Mhm.
that womb wisdom, that womb power that lives inside all of us. And realizing how important it is to reclaim that and bring that back.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you for walking your path of remembering. And then also, it's like we remember, we turn back, we extend our hand, and we're like, okay, women, this, let's remember together. Like this is the way. So, thank you. There's so much gorgeousness in what you just shared. And I think I want to talk about feminine energy for a moment because in this um, period of time, this is what I'm really focusing on. And you know, in my experience, there's this path of remembering the feminine, and like you know, reclaiming so much of the wisdom and the energy and like the birthright and the power and the womb wisdom and all of that. And then there's still this juxtaposition of the external world and these external systems that currently still don't respect that. Like they're not built to respect feminine energy. So, in some ways, I say it was a bit naive of me because as I did my remembering, I kind of expected that it would be respected, or, and then it was like this, oh, it was like people recognized that it was different what I had done, but they still didn't really know how to value feminine energy. So this is where I'm sort of focused the most right now in my work and with resource that's this group that's opening. And yeah, I wonder if we could talk about that a bit more. Like when you were talking about being in the systems and doing the work that you had trained more traditionally to do, and then there's this incredible burnout and incredible sense of like your life force energy literally being sucked out of you. Let's talk about that reclamation and our own responsibility, to hold that reclamation. Yeah, what would you
Yeah,
say
what you
about that?
Yeah, no, what you said there around it being our own responsibility is so important because as much as we function within these, I would say, archaic systems and structures that really do not honor the feminine in any way, it
Right.
is also our own responsibility to make sure that we are rooting down into our bodies, into the wisdom of our wombs, and that we are giving ourselves the time and the focus that it requires to fully reclaim that feminine energy. I know it's not easy, especially if you are still working in that system. If you are expected to show up at the office from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., for example, whether you are bleeding or whether you're pregnant or whether you're just simply feeling really tired one day, and you're just expected to pop a pill and hide your fatigue and your pain and just get on with it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard. In fact, I was just chatting with my teenage daughter, she's 17 now, about how the school system really doesn't care at all about the fact that we bleed every month. Exams will not wait for us to finish bleeding. Classrooms will not close or accommodate if we are feeling, aches and pains in our bodies or bleeding heavily. It's just not the kind of a system that would allow for the rest and the going inwards that is so needed when we are in the middle of our bleeding phase, for example. But at the same time, the more we learn to take even small moments of self care in the midst of all the busyness, in the midst of all the craziness. And that could literally look like, if you have your own office, closing the door for even for 5 minutes, putting on some really beautiful, sublime music, and going within for 5 minutes. That in and of itself will already start to make a huge difference. Giving yourself a foot bath in the evening rather than
Yeah.
sitting down and watching the TV and munching away on something that may or may not be healthy to eat, giving
Right.
yourself a foot bath or a foot massage. That's an amazing way to really honor your body and to bring you into that beautiful feminine energy as well. Um, Bringing in, let's say, more music or poetry or art in
Mm,
some format.
mm,
Even just reading a book that really nourishes your soul. Those are
mm,
all beautiful moments of nurturance. And the feminine
mm.
energy, the mother energy, is very much about nurturance and nourishing. And we've been taught to nourish and nurture others. And when we
Yeah.
reclaim the concept of really nurturing ourselves, that's when we really shift things energetically also around us. And of course, being a womb awakening practitioner and connecting with my womb as my true north in pretty much everything that I do, learning
Yeah.
to communicate with the womb space, learning to listen to her messages, her guidance
Mm,
is so important. And when you
mm,
do that and then have the courage to act on that wisdom as well,
mm.
then life really starts to shift and change in miraculous and mysterious ways.
I would love to ask you to actually describe what that looks like, because I think in the sacred feminine space, you know, I remember I had birthed two children, and when I was having my sacred remembering, like this awakening of feminine and masculine, like I still didn't use the word womb. Right? It was like I had even birthed two children, but I wasn't like connected to the womb space. So, I'm just thinking about everyone listening, and when we say listen to the womb, like how can you walk women, like can you deepen us into that a bit more?
Oh, I'd love to. And I was
Okay,
laughing as
great.
you were talking there because I had exactly the same experience. I'd been
Yeah.
pregnant 3 times, given birth twice, connected with my babies in the womb, but never ever
Yeah.
even thought about the fact that the womb, the physical uterus inside me, could actually be this magical cauldron of wisdom and power that was like so far from my awareness. And
Yes.
of course, we've been taught to forget our power. We've been made
Very
to
much.
forget
Yeah.
our power. The part of huge part of patriarchy has been about women being disconnected from their wombs because our
Right.
wombs are so powerful.
Right.
So
Like baby makers, but not, true embodiment of that feminine power.
yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
and we're portals for new souls coming into the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, what could be more miraculous and powerful than that? And we are not recognized that as that.
Hmm.
So
I
yeah,
mean, it's such a recipe for feminine depletion. The whole thing has been just set up for feminine depletion because, yeah, like we're making babies and then we're going back into the workforce. And exactly like the story that you shared in the beginning, I mean, it's like a matter of a few years before the burnout is so serious.
yeah,
Yeah, because our bodies are
absolutely.
not meant to just perpetually give out, right? Okay, but
That's right.
yeah, so take us into how to listen to the womb.
I would love to. Yeah, absolutely. So let's make sure that we're sitting comfortably. And
Okay.
if it feels safe for you to do so, close your eyes. You can also keep them
Mm.
open, but often it's easier to drop deep within if they are closed. And let's just take a couple of deep, deep breaths together. So breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth, allowing the breath to bring you more fully into the present moment, more fully into your precious body temple. And I invite you to place your hands over your lower belly, over your womb space. And even if you no longer have a physical womb, if you've had a hysterectomy, you can connect with the energy, the etheric blueprint of the womb that will always be inside you. So just start by tuning into that warmth, the warmth of your palms against your body. And just notice if something starts to stir already just with that warmth, just by holding the womb space, holding the lower belly. And then with your next in breath, bring your awareness inwards. And then consciously connect with the womb. And you can do this by smiling at your womb space, saying hello to her. And as you're connecting, the womb may come to you as the physical organ that she is, so shaped exactly like the uterus is. Or you may see her as a more abstract kind of a concept. She may come through to you as a color. You may hear her rather than see her. And perhaps you might just simply sense her vibration, her energy. There's no right or wrong here. And if all of that still feels really strange and hard to do, that's okay. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Remember that you've been taught not to connect. And when you're learning to connect, you are reclaiming something huge. So smile at your womb And then imagine that you are breathing in and out of your womb space with every single in breath flowing into the womb, caressing the womb, bringing through fresh, nourishing energy, and every out breath releasing something that no longer serves. And do that a few times. And again, just simply noticing if something starts to shift, move, feel different in the womb space. And if not, that's also perfectly fine. Just keep doing that. Keep breathing in and out of the womb. And as you're connecting, start to tune in to the energy, the vibration inside the womb space. Notice what it feels like. What is the energy like in this moment in your womb? Does it feel light, happy, free, expansive? Or does it feel more stagnant, perhaps numb or cold? Perhaps you might even be tapping into some grief or some fear as you're connecting. Simply notice at this point. Our wombs are our cauldrons of manifestation, cauldrons of creativity, creation. So we hold a lot of beautiful, powerful, healing energy in the womb. But we can also hold a lot of trauma and pain in the womb. So simply acknowledging what's coming through for you, honoring your womb. And you can even say to your womb space, I'm sorry I haven't been connecting. I am here now. And see how she responds to that. And over time, as you continue connecting with her, she's going to start to give you messages. You can ask her things, you can ask her for guidance, you can ask her for support. And sometimes your womb will ask you for support. So just see what's coming through in this moment. Is your womb asking for something from you? Or would you like to receive something from your womb? And if your womb is asking for something, see if it's something that you can give to her right now. So, for example, if she's asking for love, recognition, connection, just simply say to her, I will keep connecting. And perhaps give that sense of connection a color, and then breathe that color into the womb. And if there's a lot of sadness or grief or even some trauma starting to surface, assure your womb space, I love you. I see you. I'm here. And if that is what is happening, then it might be a good idea to work with a practitioner who knows how to work with trauma, who knows how to keep a sacred and safe space, and who's able to guide you through a process within which you will release that trauma in a healthy way. But for now, just simply assure your womb that she's not alone. You are there for her. And keep telling her how much you honor your womb. And let's take one more deep, deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Send your love to your womb one more time. Send her your thanks. You can even promise to keep connecting with her. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Welcome back.
Oh my gosh, and that is what we mean by womb awakening. Thank you.
Hmm.
Wow, thank you. I thank you for going deep with that and just like receiving that invitation to just take us in. At one point, I was so deep in there, and then I was hearing your voice, right? But then I was like, oh yeah, that's Emmy's voice. I was like, no, that's like the great mother's voice. Like
Oh,
it was like I was so deep in. I was like, everyone needs this. Everyone needs
oh,
Emmy channeling the voice of the mother. Oh, thank you.
oh. Thank you for making space for that as well. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I actually feel tears surfacing to my eyes because it's that we need, right? Like these experiences of taking 5 minutes
Yeah.
to deepen down and in and connect with what life would quickly encourage us to bypass.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
that's the pause. That's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk for a moment about what can happen if every woman does this.
Mm. Oh my gosh. The world would be a very, very different place.
Right?
We would become so much more honoring of our own power, of our own
Right.
beauty, of our own wisdom and our own divinity. And we would also honor that and see that in others, in each other as women, but also in men, and in all living beings on this beautiful planet of ours. And when I say all living beings, I'm referring to the ones that we can see and the ones that we may or may not be able to see.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
elementals, guides, spirits who very much live amongst us as well. And again, we've kind of been made to forget that. So, the
Right.
womb connection allows us to access other dimensions.
Yeah.
The womb is a portal. It literally is a
Yeah.
portal for new souls to come through, which in and of itself is a miracle. But it's also a portal into the very first mothers on our planet, the very first mother
Mm.
on our planet. It's a direct link to her and to the Great Mother. And through our wombs, we can bring through so much healing for ourselves, but also for others around us, and bring through collective healing for our planet and beyond. The womb's alchemical energy, the alchemical potential of the womb is out of this world. I mean,
Mm.
I've been working with the womb for quite some time now, and I feel like I'm really just like scratching the tip of the
Mm.
iceberg with
Mm.
everything that the womb could actually support me with and in, because we're talking about true alchemy here.
Right.
Alchemy just in terms of like a seed and an egg coming together and starting to alchemize into a human being, but
Yeah.
also alchemy in terms of manifestation of the
Right.
kind of world we want to live in, the
Yeah.
kind of values we want to honor in the world that we're building for ourselves, manifesting all kinds of magic and miracles into our lives. And yeah, it's just it's incredible. And the ancient ones knew this. The ancient ones knew how to work with the womb space. Mother
Mm.
Mary, who's perhaps the highest womb alchemist there ever was, knew how to work with that.
Yeah.
Divine conception. That is one
Mhm.
of the highest forms of alchemy that there is.
Yeah.
She and her son Yeshua, both womb shamans. Yeshua and her had both mastered the art of resurrection. Okay, and this might sound a little bit out there for a lot of people, but
It's
it was
okay.
literally about working with the womb to restore one's soul after death. This is the kind of power we're talking about when we talk about the womb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that the remembering like that comes in little inklings, right? And then I love what you said. Like you've been working with this for so many years, and you feel like you're scratching the surface. And I love that invitation. Like there's no question too small, or there's no piece of remembering that's insignificant. It's like we're collectively remembering. Yeah, and we're being shown. Like I really sense that she's waiting on us. Like she's waiting on us to take these moments and deepen into our own, resurrection, our own remembrance, so that we can be bringing more of this information through. And this is, I mean, let's kind of bridge into leadership, right? Because this is feminine leadership. It's not women in positions of power in old systems. It's feminine ways of knowing and remembering and feminine wisdom coming, being welcomed back in first through us, right? Of course, through us. And like just taking a stand, or like it's like if we refuse to live without this at this point, then it's like the world is, I don't know, going to have to realize that this is what we're doing or something. I think like this is the leadership of like we remember and then we bring this information back, and we just don't go back into the abandonment, within the old systems. But yeah, would you like to speak to feminine leadership and like new earth leadership as you define it and think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, that feminine leadership is very much about remembering that our power comes from the fact that we are all divine. And through our own divinity, we
Mm,
are, every single one of us, deeply, deeply connected. So we're not talking about power over anyone or anything, whether it's human beings or animals or Mother Earth herself and her resources. It's power with and power through. And
mhm,
that power is really about remembering our ability to consciously co create
mhm,
the kind of world we want to live in. And that power is an incredible gift. And it also is a huge responsibility. And when we remember that this power needs to be and is ultimately rooted in love as the greatest elixir that we have available to us on planet
yeah,
Earth and beyond, then we kind of organically start to build a world whose foundations are premised on concepts like compassion, reverence for each other, reverence for all life, forgiveness, kindness, and importantly, the fact that none of us can do this alone, that we are all in this together. And it's about collaboration and this sense of unity consciousness. And when we truly start to grasp what that means, what it means
mhm,
to live within unity consciousness,
yeah,
there is no way we're going to harm another living being or harm ourselves. Because when we harm ourselves, we automatically harm others.
yeah.
And when I
And
say harm, it could relate to certainly acts of violence or acts of conquest or what we're seeing all the time within patriarchy in terms of this senseless conquering and division and polarization, conflict, war, weapons, absolutely. But it could also mean just very simply things like, if I harm my body through eating some crappy food, for example, some junk food that is truly not good for me, I'm harming myself. And through that, because we are all one, harming those around me as well. Again, might
Mm,
sound a little bit woo woo and out there, but it really is, very, very, what would I even call it? It's not even a philosophy. It really is just an understanding of the fact that we are all made up of energy, this life force
right.
energy that, is within us, is around us, courses through every single living being on
Mhm,
Mother Earth,
mhm,
including Mother
mhm,
Earth herself and her various forms of existence. And
mhm,
yeah, it's about reverence for life and
mhm.
reverence for our own divinity, because we are divine beings.
Yeah,
God, Goddess, Great Mother, Source, Universe, however you want to call it, is me, and I am that,
yeah,
and not
yeah.
just a part of it, but literally it, of it, with it,
Right.
in
The
it.
micro, the macro. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Thank you so much. That was so gorgeous. We can deepen into that wisdom that you're carrying. And I want to like name some of the arc that you've actually just presented, because listeners are like everywhere on the path, right? And in the beginning, when we awaken to the fact that the feminine has been suppressed and that we have to remember, there can be so many different emotions, reactions, et cetera, to that, right? Like we're working through the traumas, we're working through the traumas with the masculine, with God, with all of it, right? And there's it would be very normal to be pissed or to grapple with that for a time, right?
Yeah.
And the journey brings you back to what you just described.
Yeah.
Like the reclamation of the feminine is then the reclamation of the masculine, is the reclamation of the heart, is the reclamation of unity, is the reclamation of can we please all love each other, is the reclamation of like our all being safe, you know? It's not, and I that's so beautiful that I almost just like want to leave it there. But so much of the time, we collectively as women, like we get stuck in being pissed. We get stuck in kind of the opposition and the frustration and wanting the world to be different and then kind of like railing against the world that is. And what you've just painted is such a beautiful invitation to continue deepening into our own remembering and our own power. And that is so much more impactful in actually shifting the world than railing against something that forgot the feminine a long time ago, right? Like being the portal through which she's here. Like she's here with Emmy right now. You can tell, right? Like the feminine has landed. She's here in sacred remembering right now. And so, like, we're not fighting for it. We are it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And the anger is completely understandable and to a large extent
Totally.
completely justifiable as well. And a lot
Yeah.
of illness is the result of us stuffing down that anger deep,
Yeah.
deep inside our bodies and not knowing how to release it in a safe way and not knowing how to express it because we've never been taught to express it. We've been taught to be
Yeah.
good girls who never get angry, who don't
Right.
show their emotions. And
Yeah.
for boys, it's been all about don't cry, don't show your emotions, be the macho man who fights his way through whatever is going on and shuts down his emotions. So we've created a very, very toxic world where we're not allowed to be who we truly are. And right now, it really is about reclaiming who we are at essence. What is my sacred feminine essence? And how do I find my way back to that? How do I find my way
Right.
back home to that? And again, it's important to be able to then release those bigger emotions, the anger, the rage, the hatred, whatever it is that you're feeling, it's okay. Just learn how to release it in a way that doesn't harm you or anyone else around you, so that it doesn't fester inside your body and turn into
Right.
illness over time. Um, and I think we also have to remember that anger in and of itself is a beautiful emotion. It's an emotion that shows you that something unjust has happened. It's a beautiful pointer. Like something's not right here. No wonder I feel angry. But then how do you release that in a way that is is supportive of your evolution rather than something that
Right.
goes against it. And we're seeing that on
Yeah.
such a huge scale in the macrocosmos right now at the moment as well, with all these conflicts, with all the war, all the fighting, and all
Mhm.
the hatred that is so openly being thrown at each other all around the world as well. And that really is, again, just a symptom of thousands of years of patriarchy and very toxic, immature masculinity holding the reins, and the immature feminine energy being suppressed and
Mhm.
oppressed and silenced for such a long time.
Yeah. Yes. So true. So very, very powerful to walk your own path of remembrance, to walk your own path of reclaiming your own power. I mean, do you have time for one more question? Because there's, ever since I first heard your voice, can I ask you one more question and then we'll conclude? Okay.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
thank you. Ever since I heard your voice on your podcast, the tone of your voice in particular, I'm like, this is really deep medicine. And I imagine that there's like a story or that there's a reclamation of the voice that, okay. Would you mind? Yeah, like, how'd you get that voice?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when I was growing up,
Mm,
I wasn't really allowed to express myself, my emotions, my opinions. My dad was a very authoritarian figure, often prone
mm,
to violent outbursts, and probably had a lot of undiagnosed mental health issues as well. So, a lot of my childhood, there were many, many happy memories as well, but a lot of it was about really like contracting myself and silencing myself and walking on tippy toes into a room, assessing the energy of it and seeing if it was safe to actually enter or ask something or say something. And so I learned to kind of silence my voice at a very, very early age and to put my own needs aside to a large extent. Um,
mhm,
in the midst of all of that, I still had this beautiful big dream that I wanted to become an actress and I wanted to be in
mm,
on the Broadway in musicals. I
mm,
wanted to sing and dance and
mm,
perform. However, every time I started to sing, I would always be told, "Can you please whistle or can you please shut up? You don't know how to sing." And I took that to the heart. So I truly started to believe that I cannot sing. And as a result of all of that, I kind of started to hate the sound of my own voice.
oh,
And, back in those days when I was growing up, we'd record ourselves on these tape recorders, these massive, bulky tape recorders. And I'd listen
yeah,
back to those recordings and I was like, oh my God, my voice is horrible. So a very long
right.
time, I really just didn't like my voice at all. And it was only when I was in my late 20s, early 30s or so that I started to use my voice more in the beginning and in the workplace. So, in the humanitarian and human rights
Mm,
world, to do facilitation of trainings and starting to
mm,
talk about human rights concepts to the people that I was working with, and started to grow more and more familiar with the sound of my own voice and started to
mhm,
love that space of expressing
mm,
myself through the voice. And then, people started to kind of drop these little hints like, Emmy, you've got a really beautiful voice. You should
Mm.
like record meditations or something. Like, nah, no, that's not me. How can you say that? I don't have a nice voice. And it took a long time to actually drop into a space where I could acknowledge the fact that maybe there is something special about my voice. And
Mhm.
when I do guide meditations or shamanic journeys, for example, people really drop deep very quickly and feel
As we
very
experienced
activated
today.
by
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's been a huge reclamation. That's been a
Uh-huh.
huge kind of like a honoring of my gifts and what's been given to me in this lifetime, and realizing that just by your voice alone, you can bring through a lot of healing into the world.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. There's so much resonance in your voice. And uh, yeah, I mean, as we experienced in this podcast, in this conversation, because I was so deep in there. And then your voice is like coming into the chamber of my room. So I love that. So
Thank you.
thank you. I'll share your website, femininerevered.com. Everyone's going to want to check out your podcast that hasn't heard the Sacred Feminine Power podcast yet. What else would you like to share with listeners about your offerings, where to find you, if they want to do womb work with you?
Well, the website is the easiest. I also have an Instagram account and YouTube account. Both are under the name of Feminine Revered. So that's the easiest way to find that. I lead retreats. That's my happy place. I love being
Mm,
in the same room or in the same place with people live. Egyptian desert is
mm,
my favorite place to be. So that's where
mm,
I hold most of my retreats. Very womb like presence, primordial energy of the sands and the primordial ocean floor as well. And
mm,
yeah, so I think the most important thing to mention is that no matter where you are at in your life, no matter how old you might be or young you might be, no matter what might be going on inside your body,
mm,
no matter how hopeless things might
mm.
seem, the possibility for healing is always there, and you
Yeah,
don't have to do this journey alone. Reach out for support and help.
yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Emmy, for coming on Sacred Remembering, sharing your wisdom. It's so good to connect with you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for hosting this beautiful podcast, Sarah.